Hi, welcome back, you beautiful souls. This will be part one to What If Deku was Dragonborn. Now, there's a couple ideas that I tossed around on Discord, and there's one, like, it's really one idea, and then it kind of evolved into two separate ideas, but they stem from the same thing. So, in this Midnight, she is going to be descendant from dragons itself. She's not going to be dragonborn, but just like in D&D, you can have like some notable humans have had that in the past where they were dragonkin, but not really. They didn't really get too many like bonuses, and they weren't like a full dragonborn. It's really complex to like go over it and not spend like an entire hour explaining it. But basically, there's going to be people that are descendant from certain races from D&D. So we have giants, infernals, tieflings, and elves. So far. And there is a test that can be taken, but most people don't bother because quirks are more common. But Deku's parents didn't have either one of these. So he didn't have Fey blood, he didn't have dragon blood, he was quirkless. So this really is what really truly drove him to jump. He's like, I'm useless and I want to do this. And because of what Kotsky said, this is what kind of initiated the whole thing of him just wanting to end it all and move on to whatever's next, because there's nothing in this world left for him. And Kotsky unknowingly said this to a kid that just lost his parents no less than a week prior. And he didn't even know that it was Deku that it happened to. Like, he knew there was a rumor that there was a kid that lost his parents, like, last week in a car accident. And so this would change Kotsky in certain ways. So that being said, it's a little bit of information that I wanted to add into it, just because it's key points for here on with the story. So that being said, let's get into this part. So, Deku, where we last left off, Deku and Ryoko, we're heading to see Ryoko's family. So they arrive, introductions are made, and a few of the adults in this village like kind of stare at Deku, and they're looking at him, and the warning that Ryoko gave him was kind of, he now understands what she meant, because it's people that kind of look like him but don't have the same coloration, besides like a person here and there, and Ryoko seemed to like know who they are. So then Deku like notices people are just staring at him, and he kind of looks up and he says, "Mom, what's up? Why is everyone staring at me?" And Ryoko looks down at me and kind of puts her hand on his head. And she's actually in her natural form. She's neither in her human form or her dragon form. So in this, I'm changing Ryuko's quirk. It's her actual quirk is she's able to turn into a human or a full-size dragon. But her actual form is a Dragonborn. And so she puts her hand on Izuku's head and is patting him on the head. They've sensed something's different about you, but they're probably looking at you because of, well, you're here with me. What's wrong, Mom? Remember how I told you about while she's holding her stomach region? Oh, how you're not able to have kids. Yes, sweetie. Me showing up with a Dragonborn child would raise some eyebrows. Sorry. It's fine. But sweetie, you've got to... You can't tell anyone about what you actually are, because, well, you wouldn't... There's some people that would be out to hurt you. There could be potentially people that would be scared of you. I can't really explain that here. Too many eyes and ears. And mind you, she did whisper this like right next to Izuku's head, like to him in Japanese. So the likelihood of someone from this cloistered village of knowing Japanese would be highly unlikely. At most, they could keep, like, people may be able to get like 1 or 2 words in the entire sentence, just because of its relation to like common, which was like an ancient human language where a lot of languages come from. So the likelihood of someone understanding what she was saying, very slim. So Izuku's just looking around and he's in awe, really. It's like something out of a fantasy world, really. And Izuku's like, where are we actually? And Ryuko says, well, you're not old enough to know that yet. And she looks down at me, and that's sort of why we're here. You're matured more than normal. But considering your, well, you know. There, you have to take a rite of passage, and it can take up to a year. Basically, I've adopted you in the human world, and this is more so of you becoming part of my family here. So, at this time, Ryuko and Deku have arrived at her family's place. And this large Dragonborn runs up to Ryuko and puts his hand on her head. And he's like, so you're finally back, Pipsqueak. So this pisses Ryuko off a little bit, and she basically like turns into her dragon form, and then she looks down and is like, who you calling Pipsqueak? And they both begin to laugh, and Ryuko goes back to her normal form, and she just embraces this guy. And he looks behind her, and he has this look confusion on his face, and he looks at Ryuko. It's like, what? I thought you couldn't. Wait, is he? No, that's not possible. There's none left. Unless. Quickly, inside. So he comes in, and Izuku, he just sees like this guy places his hand up to the door, and bring his hand from the top to the bottom. And he turns around. Ryuko, is he a new Dragonborn? Yes. And, well, just the state he was in, I couldn't leave him in that. The kid lost his original birth parents before he became one of us. And the guy just, jaw just kind of drops. Because he's like, that means he's one of the three then. He's a child of one of the three. And Ryuko's like, yeah, but I thought... Sorry about that. So he's the gentleman, he's just looking at the boy and basically kind of takes a knee to him and says, welcome to our home. And Izuku's like, what's going on, Mom? And Ryuko tells well, this is my bonehead brother. This is my boneheaded younger brother, my boneheaded older brother. And she tells her brothers, get up. I adopted him, so if anything, you don't have to do that. You're his uncle, so... And they Ryuko and the gentleman begin to laugh again. So then it is explained to Izuku that dragons, they're pretty much extinct, and the only three that they really know that still exist but haven't been seen in millennia, that are the three deities of their culture. And then Izuku's like, is that why you freaked out when I said that name? And Ryuko says, yeah, that kind of scared the living freaking daylights out of me. I'm not gonna lie, kid. It's unheard of for him to make someone. And the gentleman's like, wait, he's not. And the massive Dragonborn man kind of jumps away from Izuku. And Izuku then kind of bows and is like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. And the gentleman looks at the kid, puzzled, and he's like, wow, okay. And he says, well, my apologies, young man. It's just Lord Bahamut, he never makes a Dragonborn. That means you're... And he turns to Ryuko, and then Izuku looks at them, and he's like, what is it? That means you're childless. That means... Looking at his sister, that means you're like Ryoko-chan. You can't have kids. And Izuku looks down and he's like, well, I'm not concerned about that. If anything, I can always adopt like Mom. And so, like, that evening, like, dinner, like, a family gathering, is back to welcome Ryuko back to the family. Because she has been gone for years. Like, in canon, she's, like, I believe she's in her 30s or she's in her mid-20s. But I'm going to say, for the sake of argument, she's in her 30s now. Or no, late 20s. So she's been gone for, like, over, like, nearly a decade. And her parents are a little upset about this, but they're smiling because they have a new grandson. So Ryuko, like, does, like, the thing with the spoon and the glass, getting everyone's attention. And she turns to her parents. And she's like, many of you here can notice there's someone new here. And some old faces you haven't seen in a while. As she's grinning when she says that. There's a few roars, like, in the crowd of people that are there in the house. And then she turns to her parents. Mom, Dad. And mind you, the people in her family, like, clan honor and clan secrets are guarded with the life. Like, guarded with your life. So knowing someone's secrets is very... gets you a certain level of respect amongst some clans. So she turns to her parents and she's like, Mom, Dad, I bring to you my new son. Basically grabbing Izuku up from his chair and lifting him up. And everyone's kind of confused by this. And then she looks at her parents and then looks at her grandmother. And says, Grandma, this young one is not of me, but I'm here to ask you to accept him into our family. And all of the adults, like all of the like older Dragonborn that are present, just immediately stand up and take a step back away, clearing a clear view from an elder Dragonborn and Izuku. This old Dragonborn stands up and walks over to Izuku. And Ryoko. And she looks at Ryoko and says, So, you're here to ask for him to be accepted as part of the family. Yes, Oji's, like, grandmother. And then she turns to Izuku and asks, Boy, how old are you? And Izuku says, I'm almost 8. And everyone's jaws just kind of drop. So, besides this elder Dragonborn, she looks at him and she turns back to Ryuko and she says, "So he's a maid?" And Ryuko bows her head and says, "Yes." And pretty much everyone else in the room kind of bows their head in respect. And then the Elder Dragonborn turns to Izuku and is like, "I am proud that you're able to find your people now." Turning to Ryuko and tells her to raise her head. And then the Elder Dragonborn looks at both of them and kind of bows her head and says, "I welcome you to the family." And Izuku's a little bit confused. And then he looks at Ryuko, who, after the older one bowed her head, and this is when it clicks with Izuku, and he's like, he kind of roars, makes a roar sound, but basically he's speaking like an ancient draconian, tongue, and he basically says that he promises to uphold the clan's honor. And when he says this, everyone else raises their head, and Ryuko kind of looks at him, and then he kind of bows his own head. And so over the next year, he's going to spend there learning about Dragonborn culture. And if you guys want information about who he meets or friends and stuff like that, should he meet a friend here who later on will join UA, say yes in the comment section and we can figure out who this person could be, if they would be an OC. But let's continue with our story. So Izuku, he feels amazing. He's learned so much about what he is and who he is now. Because for the past pretty much the past year prior to his life, he was pretty much catatonic and had no clue who or what he was anymore. And this really helped him, ground him. So Ryuko and Izuku, they're both flying back to Japan. And Ryuko explains to him more in detail, because a lot of people a lot of people would run up to him and says, "You're Ryuko-chan's kid, right? Nice to meet you." And so he's surprised about this, because he's never really been treated like this outside of his deceased parents. So this helps him to really mourn their death. And so during this flight, she says, Izuku's Ryuko asks Izuku, "So what do you want to do now?" And Izuku says, "Well, I want to go back to school, and if possible, if I can go to a school close to my old home, because it'd be nice to be able to just even walk by to see my old home, at least every day after school or once a week, It'd be nice to be able to do that." And Ryuko's wow, well, I guess I was gonna wait until we got back to Japan to tell you this, but there's a reading of your parents' will that was scheduled, and if you're not up for it, we can totally reschedule. It's not something that's set in stone, but this meeting it's dependent on you. And Izuku kind of stops, so does Ryuko, and Izuku's kind of hovering there. One moment. So Ryuko, she stops and she's like, "What is it, Izuku?" And Izuku looks at her and he's like, "Mom, it's okay." And Izuku basically flies into Ryuko in her dragon form and like hugs her. It's like, "Thank you for this past year. Before I met you, I didn't know who I was or what I was, and now I know who I am. I know what I am, and I know what I want to do. I still want to be a hero, but I want to be a hero in Izuku's fight. I want to be a hero like All Might. I want to be someone that saves everyone. Not just from physical things, but inspire people to be better than what they are. With my healing abilities, I feel like I can do a lot of good for the world." And then he looks at Ryuko, and Ryuko's kind of has a tear, and he's like, "But above all, Mom, I want to be a hero like you. Helping people, not because you have to, but because you truly want to." And she grabs Izuku and gives him a big hug. And he's like, "Oh, Mom, you're kind of crushing me." And she releases, like, I'm sorry. "So, what's up with the... Well, your parents named you Sole Inheritor. And the hearings to more so go over their estates. So that's gonna happen." So I'm not sure what's in it, but it probably would involve that. But in any case, so I would say Izuku's returning with like a month to the beginning of the school year, and he knows where he's going to be enrolled at, and he's fully been accepted into Ryoko's family, and has since took on the name Ken Ryu, basically meaning Metal Dragon. Which is something you get to do taking like rites of passage for like a family. Basically on your ways. Like Izuku will come back and have a trial of combat for when he's like older, when he's 15, to prove that he's an adult. Just a little cultural thing that's for you to be considered an adult in Dragonborn culture, you have to go through through certain rites and stuff. And this was one of them that he had went through with the naming ceremony. And Ryuko's like heart kind of melted completely for this child when he took on part of like her first name. And so we continue to our story. So Izuku has about a month before classes start, and he has gone like the first week he was back, he did go to like his old house a lot, like pretty much every day, and then it turned into like the second week, like once every couple of days, and then by the time the third week rolls around, he's only showing up like once a week. And I would say he runs into a familiar face on one of his visits. And the kid basically runs up to him and says, "Oh, cool, man, like, what's your quirk? Are you like that one hero? Like, I heard there's a hero that's like dragon-like, and you look kind of like a dragon. It's so cool, man." And Izuku's just thinking, it's like, God, I had to run into him. And Katsuki basically says, like, well, my name's Bakugo Katsuki, and it's a pleasure to meet you, but I'm sorry I can't stick around or anything, but I do have other plans to do. And Izuku did introduce himself as Kinryuku Tatsume. And that's why Katsuki asked about the dragon guy. Like the dragon hero. So Katsuki runs off, and Izuku's thinking, it's like, he's probably only being nice to me now because I have a strong quirk. And, well, quirk, says Izuku, like, in quotations in his head. So we skip to the first day of class, and Izuku's in front of the entire class, and he introduces himself as Tatsume Rinryu. And everyone's, like, some of the kids, like, one of the kids, like, puts their hand up, and the teacher says, yes. Are you related to the ninth hero, the dragon hero? Riku? And Izuku, like, head down, and he's like, yeah, she's my stepmom. And everyone's like, stepmom? So Izuku takes his place, like, takes his seat, and this is when Bakugo runs up to him, and he's like, so, your name's Rinryu, and your family name's Tatsume. Pleasure to meet you again. And Izuku just kind of looks at Katsuki and says, piss off. And Katsuki says, fine, whatever, jerk, and turns around and walks away. And Izuku, like, has been thinking he was only being nice to him because of he has a flashy, in his eyes, I probably have a flashy quirk now. And mind you, Izuku's in his humanish form. Like, he looks like a Dragonborn, his skin looks scaly, but he has human-ish skin tone, or scale tone. It's humanish. It's basically take Ryuko's like skin tone and add like tinges of platinum to it. So Izuku overhears like someone whispering. It's like, wow, Kachan, he's really changed. I know, ever since, like, Deku. Yeah, ever since he said that to that kid and, like, he disappeared. Everyone's been, like, he's changed. He's doesn't really pick on people anymore, right? And he's like, they're and one of the other kids like, yeah, like he really changed. Like, oh boy, the new kid. There's one thing though, he's still an ass if you cross him. And one of the other kids is like, yeah, like I did something wrong like last year to him, and I've just now been like. So then Izuku like is thinking, it's like, crap. And in the afternoon, like easy, like after classes and the end of the day, Izuku walks to his family home, and he's like, God, I've got to tell Kachan that I'm back. I thought, I'm such an idiot. And he's looking down, and he's like hitting his head when he says this, and he looks up, and he sees a kid. He sees someone standing in front of like the house, like his old home. And then like when he realizes who it is, he runs up to Katsuki, and Katsuki's like, what are you doing here, jerk? He's like, get the hell away from me. And then Katsuki's a little surprised because Izuku kind of bows and says, I'm sorry for being a jerk to you, man. And then he looks up and he's like, long time no see, Kachan. And Kachan just kind of blinks her and it's like, what do you mean, Kachan? We're not friends. Then Izuku looks at him and he's like, wow, Kachan, I know I've changed a lot, but you of everyone I thought would recognize me. And this is when Katsuki's head kind of like breaks for a few seconds, and then his brain connects the dots. And he's like, wait, Deku? And Izuku kind of like grins, and Katsuki's like begins to cry, and he's like, why didn't you say your parents died, Deku? If I would have known that, I would have never said. And he just like breaks down and like starts to run off. Like, he just basically, whatever, you probably like hate me or making fun of me. I'm out of here. And this is when Izuku basically grabs his arm and he's like, dude, I'm realized like I was an asshole and sorry I never said anything. And he's thinking, it's like, I could really fuck this kid up in the head if I said I actually jumped. But he doesn't, and he releases like Kanchan, and it's like, so I guess we're not friends anymore. And Kanchan's like, yeah, we're not friends, but we're not really enemies either. And Izuku just kind of smiles and grins. He's like, frenemies then. Enemies that are friendly towards each other. And this is when Izuku really catches a good whiff of Katsuki. And Izuku says, huh, kinda figures. And Katsuki's like, what? And it's like, you're Fey-blooded. And Katsuki's like, really? I never really got tested. And Izuku kind of laughs. It's like, wow, if you would have known that back when we were kids, like younger, you probably would have been a lot worse. And Kachan kind of laughs, and he's like, yeah, well, in any case, I guess I'll see you at school. I'm like, what you doing here? And he's like, well, I came to see my old home. And, well, I kind of gotta get going too. I have the reading of my parents' will. So Izuku, like, jumps up And Katsuki sees like wings sprout from Izuku's back, and Izuku basically flies off. So Izuku does get spotted by a few trolls, and they stop him, and Izuku explains that this is like a mutation quirk, and he's really in a hurry, and he can't really not fly. It's harder for him to walk. It's kind of weird for him to like walk a little bit when he's not actually focusing on and turning off his work, and it can distract him when he can get easily distracted, basically is what he says. So they allow it, and they tell him, he's like, well, as long as you're not breaking any laws besides using a mutation quirk, that's a little different. Just don't do anything that's reckless. And Izuku says, yeah, so he gets to, like, these offices that he was told to meet, and a few moments after Izuku, like, lands, Ryuko lands too, and kind of scolds him. It's like, how many times have I told you not to use your powers in public? Yes, it's a mutation quirk, but that doesn't give you a free pass to use it whenever you want. And Izuku's like, yeah, I get it, but it just feels weird not to fly when I have them. You know, and Ryuko kind of laughs. He's like, I understand. Ryuko, when she's in her true form, she doesn't have wings. She's a wingless. And coincidentally tailless, which is another reason why Izuku was getting some looks. So, Ryuko's past, him having a tail, kind of makes sense, because if she were to have a child, there would be something wrong with it in a lot of people's eyes. But his adoptive family has really accepted him into the family. And the next right that he has is his right to adulthood. Basically becoming like someone that can have a say in clan matters. Pretty much. Which is why another meeting of the family was called. So the family meal kind of had two purposes to it. But Ryuko legitimately not being able to have children whatsoever would immediately make all the adults gathered there know that this would be a family secret if Izuku does join their clan. And it would bring honor to the clan when Izuku chooses to, when he becomes an adult, stating who his birth parents are. Because he does have to state that. And, well, his birth parents are human. So, yeah, the cat would come out of the bag at that point. So, this is something that this is something one of his secrets that would be up to him for people to know. And so Izuku is in shock that his parents did leave him some money, not a lot, but they did leave him a sizable amount. which was set aside in a trust for upkeep of the home. And when the trust would run out, that's when the home would go into like an Esquire estate, so people it could be auctioned off, and the proceeds were to go to an orphanage. And when Nezuko heard that, he told them to just take like the majority of it and just go ahead and donate it. Him keeping a modest amount. And he comes, and then he's like, second order of the business, land holdings. Your parents, they didn't have much young Midoriya, Tatsume. And Izuku's like, it's fine. The only land holdings they really had were your family's home. And well, from henceforth, you would have full ownership of it. So Izuku basically says, well, I would feel weird living there. And he turns to Ryoko and he's like, Mom, I can still stay at your place, right? And Ryoko grabs him and says, yes you can, but it does bring up a few challenges, like with your school and everything. So, with that being said, I'm going to leave this part off here. I know this was a little bit longer, but there's a few information I'm just going to tack on to part 2. That's why I'm kind of leaving this on a cliffhanger. So, in the next part, I'll explain what Dragon's Blood is and what Fey Blood is, because that will bring a crux to the overarching arc of this what if. So that being said, I hope you beautiful souls enjoyed this one. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I will see you beautiful souls in the next video.